Yeah,
And
I like that.
once I don't sound like this anymore, we can go
I
back.
think you sound lovely.
Thank you. I'm really hoping I can charge like $2 a minute for this voice.
It's husky,
Yeah.
raspy.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. And then also, in my rush to get out this morning, I fucking forgot my light. And so you're gonna get a darker shade of me.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And my light is very close, so you get a lighter shade of me. And so it's even more of a contrast than we normally have.
Yeah, so we have the full contrast and then a photo negative on the other side. So we'll see.
We'll see how this one goes.
Yeah. Anyways. All right, let's go. Hi, Ollie.
Danny,
How are you doing?
good. How are you?
I'm
How's
doing
Will? For what it's worth, considering you're not feeling too good.
Considering I'm not feeling too good, it's actually a pretty decent day. It's been a pretty good week. We will survive. We will get through. Anyways, you are one half of the Freudian Slips podcast.
You're the other half.
I am.
2/3. I'm probably a third, height-wise.
And so I think the world wants to know who exactly is this wonderful half. And so I thought it'd be fun to interview you so that everyone could get to know you.
Okay.
Awesome.
Bring it on.
Let's.
Sounds fun.
Cool. So, the first thing I'd want to do is just introduce yourself. I kind of want to get to know you as a person and as a professional.
Oh, my name's Ollie. Ollie Maggi. And I'm a therapist. I'm a school psychologist. I'm a yoga teacher. Snapple fact. Haven't done that in a while. But, yeah. And so I think for a while there, I was doing both kind of jobs. Now I'm full time just doing therapy in my private practice. And I love it.
You mentioned being a yoga teacher when we met. What got you into that? How do you even become a yoga teacher?
Well, I liked hot yoga. I don't even know how I first got into it. I think I just went to like a hot yoga class and it was Bikram. It's when like Bikram was really big at the time. I think it was before things with him kind of hit the fan and everyone knew how, controversial he was. But I really liked hot yoga. And then I found a hot yoga teacher training in Thailand. And so I was like, that sounds fun. And so I did that in between my freshman and my sophomore year of college. So I was in Thailand all summer and I just did my yoga teacher training. And then I came back and I taught at studios in Oakland. I taught at my college, at the gym. And then I even opened my own yoga studio for a while. And I had my own yoga studio in Walnut Creek, kind of sold that so I could help pay for grad school. It was a wild turn of events and I really loved it. But I think the more I taught yoga and then when I owned the business, I was like, oh, I think I just really like doing and teaching yoga. I don't think I want to own a yoga business because then I wasn't really like teaching as much anymore. And I had hired a few teachers. And I was like, now I'm just running a business and I'm not like doing the thing I like to do, which I think with therapy, I love owning the business, but I think it's because I also do the therapy all the time. So very different.
That's so cool. I know that you ran your own yoga studio, but I think it's just now kind of hitting me of what that actually meant. You didn't just rent an office, you had like your own yoga business?
It was in like a health and wellness center, but they had this whole portion of the building that they didn't use. And like that was woman owned. And so she was like specifically looking for like another woman who she could essentially like rent the space out to for their own business. And so I don't even know how I linked up with her. It might have been Craigslist. I have found everything in my life on Craigslist. My pets, my husband, my home, everything. I swear by Craigslist. My father has taught me to find everything on Craigslist. So I found this woman, I think, on Craigslist. And then, so I guess I technically, like I was my whole own business, but I rented like the building from her because her wellness center was like attached.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome. All right. Craigslist, that's scary.
Right? But it's worked out well. But it could not work out well. But I think the things I've, I do all the safety precautions. Yeah.
I also know, as a professional therapist, you have unique titles, and so what are they? What are your actual titles when it comes to being a mental health professional?
Health professional, LMFT, licensed marriage and family therapist, and PPS, which is a like pupil personnel services credential. I don't know what it's when you're a school psychologist, those are the letters, are PPS. And yeah, so it's the school psychology and marriage and family therapy, which people think is like a school counselor, and it is not. You're the person who does all the testing for like special education departments, and you like write all the reports, and you do like you run all these like statistics and analysis, and you write these like like giant like some districts want like these like 60-page in-depth report of like analyzing the discrepancies between all these scores to see if there's different learning disabilities. You run IEP meetings. And so it has nothing to do with therapy at all. But I really liked it because that was like the number and science-y side of my brain that I liked because I thought I was going to be an engineer. I realized very quickly I was not going to be an engineer, but I liked math and science. So I think that's where the school psychology piece came into play.
Well, cool. Maybe this leads into the next question, and that is tell us about your road to licensure. And so I'm sure all of this kind of comes as a part of that journey.
Yes, yes. So I loved teaching yoga. And I kind of wanted to try to teach through grad school. And I always knew I wanted to go to grad school for something. But I was like, yoga could be a good way to kind of like be supplemental income while I do other things. Turns out it was not. They just, unfortunately, yoga does not pay very well. And so I kind of quickly realized doing yoga, I was like, okay, this isn't going to be exactly what I thought it was. Go to school for engineering, realize quickly I love all the classes, but I look around and I'm like, all right, everyone else that wants to be an engineer does not seem a lot like me. I don't know how much I'm going to like the field of actually like doing these engineering things. And so I was like, let's regroup. And I remember calling my mom and I was like, I don't think I'm going to be an engineer. And she's like, okay, well, before you just like jump ship and pick a random major, like decide what you think you want to do. I have no clue how I stumbled upon sex therapy, but I did somehow. And I was like, that's me. I was like, I can talk to people about sex all day long. I was like, nothing makes me uncomfortable. Like, let's do it. So I think I was like 18 or 19. And I figured out that you needed like a master's, you need to get all this training. And I was like, cool, let's do it. And I never looked back. And then applying for grad schools, I knew I needed marriage and family therapy. But the school I went to offered a dual kind of course where if you go full time and you never take summers off and you go for 4 years instead of 3, you can be a school psychologist and a marriage and family therapist. You can get 2 master's degrees instead of 1. The bargain shopper in me was like, I obviously need to do this. I did not even know what a school psychologist really was at the time, but I was like, F it. So I did both. Liked the school psychology thing, thank goodness. And luckily you can work as a school psychologist right when you graduate. So you have to take your kind of like licensing or credentialing exam while you're still in school. So the day you graduate, you're like good to go and like do the psychologist thing. And I was like, that's nice because obviously with therapy, we need 3,000 hours. So I was like, I can always kind of like have this as a job while I slowly build up my private practice because I always knew I wanted to go into private practice. So that's what I did. And then I built up my private practice. We met in our PhD program. And then I just started, learning under sex therapists and getting more sex therapy specific clients. And alas, one day my private practice was big enough and I was like, okay, I think I'm going to say goodbye to the school psychology thing, which was really sad because I really, really love that too. But I was like, I cannot juggle the two of these things at the same time. So then maybe like 2 years ago now, 1.5 years ago, I went fully private practice. And here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
What was school like outside of it being a dual program in 4 years? What was your experience of schooling?
It's like if I could turn back time, I would do it again because I love like what we do and I wouldn't have it any other way. But like, holy shit. I thought I could live at my parents' house because it was like 40 minutes away from the school. So I was like, I'll live there so I don't need to pay rent and I'll commute. And that lasted literally a semester because I was spending like 4 hours in the car every day with Bay Area traffic. And even at night when we'd get off at 10 o'clock, they'd like close all the lanes to do road work. So it would take me hours to get home even at like 11 at night because all these different spots on like the bridge or in Oakland, they'd like, everything was one lane. And I was like, oh my God. So I'm like borderline falling asleep on the way home. It was like those moments where you'd come home and like my dad would have dinner waiting for me like in the oven or the kitchen or the microwave. And it's like midnight. And I would just like eat and like singular tears would come down and you like don't know why you're crying. You're just exhausted. And so like the schooling itself, I don't think was that like difficult, but managing the schedule was insane. And I didn't want to take out loans from the government because I didn't want to pay interest. And so the first 2 years I was able to pay entirely myself. So I was working at the same time. So like that I think was just a crazy, I don't know why I did that. But so I paid off the first 2 years. And then when they made us work full time, basically, and not get paid to like meet other areas that we needed, then that's when luckily my parents were able to like loan me money to finish the last 2 years. So then I just owed them back versus like all this interest on government loans. But it was wild. Like I look back now and I think I still partly struggle with like, I think I overwork myself, whether it's with therapy or with just like doing things in life. Like my husband all the time is like, oh, Ollie, like if you were a stay-at-home wife, he's like, I don't know, you'd build an addition or something. It's like, I just can't stop. And so I think how much you have to do in grad school still feels very hard for me to like let go of. It's like, oh, you can like sleep in sometimes, or like if you have nothing to do between 2 and 5, I could just like go for a walk or like make food slowly.
Yeah.
Like what? Like I don't. So I still struggle with that. But it was crazy. Like I've read studies on how if you go to any kind of grad school, like med school, law school, like therapy school, any of those things like significantly shorten your life because of all the stress, the lack of sleep. Like it takes exponentially so much more time to kind of like regroup and heal from that with all the damage you did during that time. And I totally get it. Like, I don't know if people are meant to go through how we structure things like grad school, but I'm very glad that I did it and that it's done.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't make me feel good. We're gonna die sooner. Oh, damn.
Well, there's like, I don't know if it necessarily, like, yeah, on average, it does show that it like shortens your life, I think, because of like all the stress. And it's kind of like those sleep studies that people think like, oh, if I lose 2 hours this day, I can make up 2 hours that day. And it's like, no, 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 no. Like, you like need consistently this much sleep. You can't just like add and move like the equation around to be like, as long as I get this much in a week, I'm fine. Like it doesn't work that way. And so similarly, I've heard that's kind of how like the damage from grad school is. It's not like, oh, so if I take 4 years to kind of chill after grad school, I'm back. Like we're right back to where we started. And it's like, no, no, no. Like you did a lot of damage.
What was the thing that helped you? What do you think was the most helpful thing that got you through grad school?
Ooh. Part of it, I think, is genetics. I think my grandma is one of those weird people. She's gonna turn 90 next month. No, February, March, April, 2 months. This girl's 90. She drives. She's sassy as ever. She's Hispanic. She's just still going to church, got her community. She sleeps 4 hours a night-ish. And it's been that way her whole life. And she's a workhorse. And I truly think she's one of those people. I've heard there's like a very small percentage of the population that like just does not need as much sleep. She's gotta be one of those people. She's healthy as a horse. I don't know if that's actually a phrase. It felt like it was at the time, but she's super healthy. And she's never been able to sleep much at all. So I do think I have a part of that. I'm nowhere near as kind of like her level, but I do think that helps. I think it helps that I naturally just can't sit still and love to do things. And then I think it helped that I was basically broke until I knew I needed to get these degrees to like have the job I wanted. You know, it wasn't just like a fun. I've heard of people that get like MBAs because it's like maybe it'll help with my career. I'll get an MBA. And I'm like, I don't think that would work for me. Like there was a very direct correlation to like you can't do the job you want until you like get this degree. So it was never really like a choice for me, or it never felt like, oh, well, maybe I won't. It's like you literally don't have a choice. So I think just that kind of mentality of like, you need this to get this thing you want, which is be a therapist. That I was like, okay, game on.
That's cool. What was training like? Did you start seeing clients while you were still a student?
Yeah, I was able to max out on those hours. How many are you able to get? Like 700?
Yeah, that has to be like between like 5 and 700.
It's not much, but I know that social workers need to get all their 3,000 after they graduate. You can get, or at least for LMFTs, because that's what you are, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, LMFTs, you can get a percentage of it before you graduate. And I was able to do that because I was in grad school for 4 years instead of 3 or 3.5 or something, like whatever the normal amount of time is for if you were just doing like an LMFT master's program. So I was able to get all those hours, like max out on the ones I could while I was in school. And then because I was a school psychologist, I was always working in schools. So I was able to get all my kid hours like done
Hmm.
basically in schools. So while I was in school, all the hours and training I got was really around children and doing therapy in the school setting.
That's cool. What
Mhm.
was your opinion about the site that you were at?
It was interesting. I've worked, so for schools, I worked out in this little town, Brentwood, which is by me, which is also funny because on Psychology Today, I was listed as Brentwood for a long time. So I have a ton of Southern California clients because the Brentwood there is a little bit different than the Brentwood here. Here, it's like a little cow town, kind of, compared to the Bay Area. It's like right outside. And there's literally like plains and cows that you drive by. And so I got hours there. And I'd say that was kind of more of like a middle ground. And that's where my supervisor was, who was also a therapist and a school psychologist. So that's how I was able to get my hours to double dip. And I contacted, I kid you not, like 40 different therapists during this time to find someone who had the same like double degrees or like licensures. And that was so hard to find. So I would drive 45 minutes just to go to work because I had to work under my supervisor, and that's where she was. So, and she was the closest person I could find with those 2 degrees. And I don't even know if I've ever met another person since that has both degrees
Damn.
or like titles, kind of a thing. And so I would drive out there, and that was, I'd say kind of a mix. It was like a cool kind of mix of communities. You had like rural farm workers and their kids, but then you also had just like people that had moved out from the Bay Area to be a little further and like wanted a little more land and their kids. So it was a cool combo. But then I worked in East Oakland for years. And then also I worked at a high school in the Lafayette area, which is like a super high achieving high school. So I think the mix of being in all these different places was like fascinating. Like the high school was the one where I wrote these like 65-page reports that were like crazy in depth. Every meeting had a lawyer. Like everything was intense and like on fire.
Wow.
And then in East Oakland, it was like, hi, we have so many kids that need help. Like, just figure it out. And so it was like all over the board, but a really cool mix of like experiences.
Did you ever have a client or a type of like client or therapeutic issue that you were worried about seeing?
Worried about seeing.
Yeah. Like a lot of people, they don't want to deal with addiction or they don't want to see kids.
Well, I always knew I didn't want to work with kids in a therapy setting solely because I just do not want to play for therapy. Like, I like having real world conversations. I always knew I wanted my private practice to be like adults. So having to do it at a school was kind of like, I just knew it wasn't what I wanted to do. And then I knew I never wanted to work with addiction specifically, just because so many people in my own family have had addiction issues. And uncles, like TOs, lived in and out of our house while they got sober. And so I just knew, like, too close to home. And I know how hard it is. Like, I know falling back into old patterns is just a part of the process. And I was like, I think that would just drain me on like a personal and work level.
For sure.
So didn't want to do that. The only other one that I think threw me for a loop were personality disorders. And it was because when they came through the door, the people I have worked with that have personality disorders did not come knowing that they had a personality disorder. So it's like they come with some presenting issue that as you work with them, you're like, I don't know if this is what's going on. And my supervisors this is all when I had supervisors too, and they were like, oh yeah, no, like I think this is what's actually going on. And so I think trying to navigate like working with someone who's coming for something, but like they don't realize what might actually be going on. And then how do you bridge that and what's actually like most beneficial for them, and how or do you tell them, like those always became tricky for me. And then going now I'm fully telehealth. So there's just certain things that I don't have like anything against, but like I'm not going to work with someone who's like actively manic or like schizophrenia or a lot of personality disorders, just because like I'm not in person. This is all telehealth. We might be very far away. Like I just want to make sure they're the right fit for like a telehealth setting too.
I respect that. Speaking of supervision, that is a big part of like our journey to licensures. Like you're going to be with a supervisor. What was your experience with supervision?
I got really lucky. I had a few like school psych supervisors that I didn't, and no one was ever like bad. I never had like a negative experience. I just didn't love, like sometimes it was like how they taught or just their approach didn't quite jive with me. But luckily for therapy, I feel like anyone I've had was so sweet and they taught me so much, and they were all very like, I think, open to like, oh hey, here's how I do things, but you're gonna figure out what works for you and like how you do things. And it felt very like in an English class or something where it's like, cool, like convince me of X, Y, or Z. And as long as you can explain to me why, or walk me through kind of in your own way why you would go this route or pick this or that, there's no right or wrong answer. I just need to see like how you got there. And I think I had a lot of supervisors that were like that really encouraged me to just like kind of do things my own way, but would just be like, ooh, okay, so why did you do that? And like, what made you try that instead of maybe like this? And so it was very like critical thinking, like fishbowl kind of working off of each other kind of a thing, which I really, really liked.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I really like that. That's nice. And then, what was it like saying goodbye to that and actually, or why, this might be a two-parter. So once you're done with school, you still have to continue on and actually get like a job as an associate. And so what was it like getting a job, something that actually pays you during your pre-licensure days? And then what was it like transitioning to licensure and having a job there?
I think I got super lucky because the woman I had found during school that was the school psychologist and a therapist that I could count both my hours under, she had her own private practice in that town, Brentwood. So after I graduated, she was like, hey, you can be an associate under me, and now you can just see people at my office instead of just like seeing kids at the school. So it was pretty seamless of a transition for me to start seeing people in her office. And I never felt the pressure of like, oh no, how do I build up my clientele? Because I had this other job as a school psychologist. So I had that job, that was good to go. And then just slowly as I got more people, I would see more people at her office. Then COVID hit. And so COVID made it so therapists could do all this stuff online.
Yeah.
And luckily, she was super sweet about being like, yeah, that's totally fine. See people online, because I'm driving an hour every time I need to see one client at her office. And so getting the 3,000 hours became so much better when I could do teletherapy. So I was actually able to like see way more people in a more condensed amount of time. I didn't have the pressure of needing to feel like I had to build and see people super quickly. And then once I did, get my hours, take the exams, pass, and I was kind of like good to go, I literally remember texting her and being like, hey, like, so I passed, and like, how do I? And she's like, oh, check on, the BBS website or, the board website and see when your number pops up. And so when I had a number assigned, she was like, oh, wow, yeah, that was really fast. Like, I thought it used to take a lot longer. And she's like, okay, yeah, cool. Like, you're totally licensed now. And I'm like, okay, so like, what do I do? And she's like, well, now instead of people paying me, they pay you. She's like, so have fun. So it was literally like one day to the next, she let me keep all my people. And it was like, I just like tripled my income
For sure.
in a day. And it was like the craziest experience. It went from being like working 60 to 80 hours a week, barely making ends meet, to like you could put stuff in your savings. And you were like, what? And it was just one day to the next. It was crazy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was very nice.
I totally
Yeah.
forgot about the exams. So what was your experience with the exams? Did you have to take exams for school psychology as well?
Same thing. There's not a law and ethics and like there wasn't like a two-part test. But yeah, same thing. It's like a big like 4 hour, like 3.5 or 4 hour test. You just do it while you're in school. So we did that. So that was nice. Got that done. And then after the 3,000 hours, which is kind of nice that then at least you have like a buffer. It's not like we take both those big tests at once. It's like I took one at the end of grad school. The 3,000 hours or getting the rest of those took me about 2 years, 1.5, 2 years, something like that. Like pretty much doing full time and seeing as many people as I could. So then I used what is it, the Therapist Development Center, and I just studied for that, took all the practice exams, got like D's and C's on them, and was like, oh my god, I don't know anything. And then I took the test and I passed. I don't know what score I got. I don't care. I saw the thing that said congratulations, you passed, and I was like, that's all I need to know. But I hate those kinds of tests. I'm pretty good at studying, so that was fine. But I hate needing to like go to a building and like just the whole production of it and like sitting there for X amount of hours and just like question after question after question. So I'm very glad all of those, like all that's done and I only had to do all those one time.
Yeah, so you passed on your first time. Congratulations.
Thank you. I know. I was like, thank goodness. And I literally remember waiting for them to print out the sheet when I was done and I was standing there and I was like, I don't know if I could do this again. Like simply just sitting there for 4 hours. I was like, if I have to study again, I don't know what I would do differently. So I was like, I really hope this goes okay. And it did. So that was great. And literally later that day, because I took it early in the morning, later that day, they posted my number and I was like, good to go.
Yeah, I think mine was up within like 2 hours.
Damn, yeah. And my supervisor was like, oh, weird. Like, I thought it used to take like up to like a week sometimes. But she's like, yeah, no, you're totally good. So literally the next day when I started seeing people is when like I got paid. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, what a wild turn of events. But in terms of how I actually operated and like the, associate life to being licensed and how my life looked, my day-to-day I was already doing like pretty much all teletherapy at that time. So the only other time there was a big shift was when I like quit my other job. And then it was like, oh, now I just do therapy. But it wasn't that much of a transition really.
The entire process now, from start to finish, like when you started grad school to where you are today or when you kind of went off on your own, what do you think were some of the biggest lessons you learned throughout that whole process?
Ooh, just like slow and steady. Like you're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days, like doesn't matter. Just like do what you gotta do, go through the motions. The other one too is like, it's just there's no need to I think I figured this out in high school though. It's like I always worked and played sports and then took like AP classes and stuff in high school. And I remember I hit a point where I was like, I'm not doing this all-nighter thing. Like, I don't think so. Like, I will study. If it hits like 11 or 12, I need to go to bed because I know I need to wake up early. I know I'm going to have practice tomorrow night again. It's like, I think I learned really early on. I was like, I'm done. It's like, I'm going to try my hardest until 11 or 12, and then I'm calling it a night. And whatever happens the next day, or if I need to go to a class and be like, sorry, I'm going to turn this in. It's about halfway done. I had to just call it after that. It was my bedtime. And it's like in grad school, I think that helped too, is I was just like, at some point, you can get a B in a class. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. No one's ever going to ask you. No one's ever going to care. So like, why are you going to kill yourself over it? It's like, go through just do it and do it as best as you can. But there's no need it's not going to help to freak out. It's not going to help to put all this pressure on yourself. But I think I also naturally am like less of an anxious person that way. I'm very just like, I'm going to figure it out. And I know it. So, but I think that helped a lot. Was just like, okay, do what I can. And if I can't anymore, it's really not the end of the world. Like communicate with a professor. They'll probably be understanding about it and work with you. And if they're not, That's rude. And that's fine. And still turn it in and get a B minus or something. It doesn't.
Did you have a favorite professor or like mentor throughout the process that really stood out to you?
Well, okay. Favorite professor was this woman named Colette. She was probably in like her 70s. She had like a treadmill desk before, like, it was like when standing desks were starting to get like the hype. She had a treadmill desk like back then. And everyone would always be like, oh, Colette, you must have like a standing desk. And she's like, well, it's actually a treadmill desk. She had hair like as long as mine, like down to almost like your belly button, just silver. She was ripped. She'd wear these like really nice little tops that had no sleeves, and her arms were just like jacked. And I was like, and she like worked with different native, cultures, and would be like, when I stayed with the Navajo for 6 months, and like would do these like the sweat lodges with them. And I was like, why are you the coolest woman ever? So I just live life being like, I just want to age like Colette. I just want to be as cool as Colette, and like look and have her energy as I age. So that was my favorite professor. Favorite mentor, though, was actually when I worked at the really litigious high school. That was in my internship year of school psychology. So it was a small district. There was like 5 schools. So there's only 5 psychologists, and they all had an intern. And you basically just work right alongside them, and you do everything they do. It's almost like your first year working in the field, because you're essentially doing it. It's just there's someone looking over your shoulder to make sure you're like actually doing stuff right. And her name was Bonnie, and she's one of the coolest people I've ever met in my life. And she was also like right on the cusp of retirement, and she was just awesome. She had a pug. She like lived this like adventurous life. She was just so like happy, and like she was great. And she would just teach me things. She would be like, all right, Ollie. She's like, what hill you want to die on today? She's like, we can only pick one. So you pick which hill we want to die on. And I'd be like, that seems important. And she was like, all right, cool. Like, that's our hill. And then if I'd ever like bring anything up during the day, she's like, you already picked what hill you want to die on. She's like, you can't die on that one too. She's like, just leave it. If they get mad, they get mad. And I was like, okay. And so she was amazing. I think now she's retired and living in Florida to be closer to her daughter. And her grandson. And I literally hope she's living the best life ever. I think about her all the time.
Hell yeah. Shout out to Bonnie and Colette.
Yeah. I love her. Bonnie and Colette.
Thank you for your services.
Seriously.
And now you're a whole ass therapist yourself.
I know. Which like doesn't feel real.
No. Hasn't sunk in yet?
No. It's awesome though. Like I don't really feel like I have a job. Even though I work all the time, I just almost think it's like funny to be like, what? Like we get paid for this? Like this is awesome.
Yeah. So then tell us about it. What is your professional niche? Who do you see and why? Obviously, as a therapist, as an amazing therapist, you see everything under the sun, right? Anything that you can actually help, anything that you feel confident in is coming in. Great. But what are you a little bit more known for? What do you see yourself working with most often?
Well, first, I like a mix of couples and individuals. I do love my couples work. At one point, I thought I'd be totally couples. And it's funny because we've talked about this. Yeah. I do find couples to be very draining. I love working with them, but like managing both people and trying to like read both people at the same time, make sure everyone has enough time to talk. Like I find like when I leave those, and they're also slightly longer sessions. So I find when I leave them, I'm like, okay, I need to like recoup for a sec. But I love working with couples and individuals, not so much with kids in a therapy setting or families. Families are just too much in a room, especially again on telehealth. So I like the mix of kind of the combo of the two. And then obviously sex therapy. I just find it so fun, and I don't think anything makes me uncomfortable, so it makes me really happy when people can come and talk about something that they're like, oh, like I've never really talked about this with anyone before, or like when people say like, oh, like I've never, Ollie, like I've never been this comfortable like talking with someone about this, and I'm just so happy that like I found you, or like you're so easy to talk to about it. Like that just like makes my heart melt, and I'm like, oh, of course. So I love sex therapy. And then funny enough, ADHD randomly, and like learning disabilities, but I think I mostly get ADHD, kind of like became a niche I never thought I'd have because I'm a school psychologist and I worked with it so much in schools. I just started getting adults that would see that I was also a school psychologist, or like see the PPS or whatever after my name, and they'd reach out and they're like, hey, I just got diagnosed as an adult and like no one can really help me. Or they'd be like, I've talked to some therapists about it, but they don't seem to know that much about it. And it wasn't until I like started working with more people or like hearing from more people that I was like, I guess that makes sense. Like everything I know about ADHD, I did not learn from my marriage and family therapy masters. I learned from testing people for years and like running all the stats and reading like kind of like neuroscience-y books about it, and from my school psychology masters. So that's kind of become like honestly like half of probably my clients now, is whether it's couples that they're struggling because one person has ADHD and the other person's like really frustrated by it, or it's just individuals that whether they were diagnosed as kids or not, they're struggling with how to manage it in their day-to-day life. And so I think it's really cool because I just realized a lot of people have never really found a therapist that like super knows how to help with that kind of stuff, or like can't really be as educational on what ADHD is.
Hmm.
So I've really liked that. And then as the universe works, I married a textbook ADHDer. And I'm like, I live it. I work with it. I studied it. And it's become my whole life. And I never knew I wanted it, but I do. And it's great.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about ADHD from you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Like
I love it.
all of my ADHD resources on my bookshelf are from you. And yes, from the conversations that we've had, I've learned a lot. So I really appreciate that. Hell yeah, that's a really good one.
Well, and I think it's a part of like why the field is so cool is I do love the sex therapy work. I love it. But young Ollie, thought that I'd have a whole, just like my whole arsenal would just be couples and sex therapy. And it's all I'd want to do. And I'm like, I never thought I'd be a therapist for adults with ADHD. I was just like, that didn't even cross my mind. And so I'm like, I have now learned I love working with that population so much. And it's like nothing I ever knew I like wanted, but I absolutely love it. And so I think it's cool that you might think you really want to do one thing, but like it all kind of ebbs and flows and you kind of figure it out like along the way. I think it's like such a fun part of our job.
Yeah, I agree. I really like that. All the new things that kind of come in that I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting. Like even when you're working with a population that you really really adore, they're not like a one note kind of person, right? They still have all these other things. There's so many systems, there's so many like contexts to look through. So
Yeah.
you end up needing to learn a bunch of other stuff while you're working with this one client. And so yeah, I really like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's
And
so fun.
your modality. So if someone were to come in and have therapy with you, like what is your theory? What's your brand of therapy? What do they get in?
See, again, old Ollie would be like, existential, baby. Like, we're all gonna die. How are you gonna face it? And then I realized, like, I don't actually do much of that in therapy. I think I have a few clients that really resonate with it, and I can like lean more into it, and I love it. But I think for the most part, and it's such a boring answer, but I think I'm like really eclectic. I think I've learned I'm super humanistic, so like client centered. I always want them to lead the way. That's pretty like standard across the board. But like depending, like with ADHD, it tends to be much more solution focused than I normally am as a therapist. I don't like this idea that like, sure, you want to come and fix that, give me 8 sessions, like we'll fix it. It's like it's probably incredibly nuanced and there's many layers, and like I don't know what, when, or how that like fixing process will look like, quote unquote. But with ADHD, a lot of it's like practical skills that if people don't know, they don't know. So that can be a lot more solution focused and a lot more like educational, because I'm like telling people more about ADHD and we're fine tuning different like systems and things in their life. And it's a lot of like, okay, cool, what worked, what didn't work? How should we change this approach for next time? Like when they do hit blocks and they're like, Ollie, why is this happening? Oh, I mean, not all the time. Sometimes I need to go back and look things up. But for the most part, I can be like, oh, that's why this is happening. So I think there's a good mix of like psychoeducation and of, what's it called? And of like solution focused, like task based skills that we work on, skill based tasks, one of those. But for the most part, I think I'm really eclectic. Like, I think it depends what someone's working on, what I realize they resonate with. One of the things my supervisor in private practice always taught me is she was like, all these people are either they live in their head or they're stuck in their bodies. And she's like, you got to pull the people out of their bodies into their head, and people that live in their head, you need to suck them into their bodies. And so I think I really kind of get a feel for like, okay, what is this? Like, I'll get a feel for like, are they really heady? And then like, how do I help them like feel things in their body more, or vice versa? And then I think maybe that means I'm doing more somatic stuff. Maybe that means we're doing more CBT tracking stuff. And so I think I also have, this is a random kind of feels like an aside, but I have a really good memory. So it helps me to like, I remember so many different like exercises and tasks. And like, if I read something, I can pretty much remember the page and be able to scan the page and like remember things almost. I wouldn't say I have a photographic memory, but I think I'm like decently close.
Polaroid
And
memory.
so, yeah. And so I'm able to like pull things from different modalities that I think would resonate with someone. And then through homework assignments, we figure out like what's better for them, what isn't. And I just lean more into that. So I don't think it's really like a one size fits all model. I think you need to find what works best for each person.
For sure. But
That
you
was
like
such
to
a
give homework.
long-winded answer. I love homework. It's pseudo homework. That's what I tell everyone. You don't need to do it. I won't judge you. Judgment-free zone. But I will give you homework because it's like, if you're paying for this shit, I want to give you all the stuff I can. More stuff happens outside of therapy than inside of therapy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we're actually like, I don't think therapists are doing a whole lot. And it's like, come at me. Sorry. But I think we're just holding a space. And all I know is I studied this for many more years than someone who isn't a therapist. So I just have a lot more stuff to throw at you that you can work with.
Yeah.
But I think you're the client's the one making all the change, because they could come every week, and if they weren't bought into it or didn't want to do any of the work, it doesn't matter what we do. Nothing changes. So I don't know. I kind of find the existentialist in me. I kind of find the beauty in that. That like nothing we do matters. And I love it.
I agree. I really like that. So tell us about a time that you made a client feel comfortable, or that a time that you really saw a client grow. And how did you actually accomplish that?
Okay. So I read this one and I was like, I think I was just telling my husband the other night that I think more so than like, I for sure have like specific memories of like one person, but more so I think what has been like I didn't expect this from being a therapist that I really love is I have clients that are men in like their 50s.
Yeah.
Or people of very different backgrounds than me. I have a lot of Middle Eastern clients, whether they're men or women, very traditional. I have just like people that have walked veterans, like people that have just walked very different paths in life than I have, or that I would ever know, whether it's religiously, like sexually, any of that. And so it's fascinating to me how many times in like maybe the last even like 2 months, I've had clients of all those different spheres be like, Ollie, I don't know how, like when you say how I might be feeling, or when you're like, oh, like when you word, like try to put myself in their shoes, they're like, I don't know how you like get it so right. Because like you're not like me. Like you haven't lived this, but the way you describe it, or like, wow, like it must feel like X, Y, or Z. They're like, you hit it like every time. And I don't know how you do that. And they're like, it really feels nice to feel like you get where I'm coming from. Even though if you look at the two of us, you'd think, how could you ever get where I'm coming from? And I think I have found such a like beautiful peace in that. And it just makes me so happy that people feel like so heard in our sessions, it sounds like, or I've heard people say stuff like, yeah, I've never, like, when we talk, I'm able to, like, I feel better. Just being able to, like, get it out to you. I know you're never going to judge me. And, like, then I can be on my way and I just, like, feel better about things after we kind of, like, work through it together. And so I think, like, even just those, like, little moments that aren't necessarily like, wow, because of you, I lost 120 pounds, or I don't know, whatever. It's like, I really, really like just being able to see someone like come in some kind of mood or feel a way about therapy, and then they come in kind of telling you that they're like closed off and they don't like therapists, and you're like, well, this is awkward. Like, you came to me. And then that dissipates and you're like, haha, like I think I'm getting in there a little bit, and I love it.
And then closing us off, what would you like to accomplish in the field over the next 5 to 10 years? With this, with being a private practice therapist, just where are you going with all of this?
I wish I knew. I don't know. But I think that's the beauty of it, Danny. I met people like you who we've never met in person, which I think is such a fun Snapple fact. It's like I think I just kind of like the niche thing, right? Where like you don't know. You don't know what your niche is going to be or what you're going to love working with. It like evolves over time. I think I'm just excited to see what happens. Maybe I work a lot less, and I just have like I'm able to get what I need and I can spend more time with my chickens and my pugs and like just kind of hang out more. Maybe it's writing a book. Maybe it's our podcast. Like just spending more time hanging out with a friend and chatting about stuff we both really like. But I think for the most part, I think the beauty is I don't know. And I'm not super tied to anything. And like what it is, it is.
Well, that's great. I am glad that I have a front row seat to that.
I'm glad I have your front row seat
Yeah.
to you as well.
Yeah, no matter what it is, I'm excited to be with you at least during this leg of the race, right? We're doing this. This was an idea that we kind of just talked up and then we just ran with it, and here we are. I didn't think that we'd be doing something like this. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to stand behind you no matter what happens over the next 5, 10 years.
Thanks, Danny. And I think that's a part of it too, right? It's like you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe something happens in our personal life that's like, oh shit, like, gotta figure this out. But I think it's great we have a job that like you can be so flexible with and that we both like run our own time and our own schedule and like no matter what happens, I'm just happy we have the kind of career that like we can make it work for us and our life instead of like vice versa, where you have to force your life to fit into your job.
For sure.
So I think it's just like a fun adventure. And I'm glad that we found the field so young because it's like 20 something year old therapist. Well, now I'm 30, but still, it's like in our 30s, therapizing. Like, how fun. What more could you want?
I don't know. I don't know.
Wrong answer. The answer is more chickens.